Good evening, America. It is 7 p.m. Tuesday, June 16th, and this is Q News Tonight, the world's first live LGBTQ daily evening news. It is time to queer up the news.
In the headlines tonight, gay blood. We ask, were we allowed to save Superman? The DNC releases Trump attack ad named Dissent, and the Supreme Court Justice Alito compares same-sex urges to rape while Kavanaugh slams ruling. We watch This Weekend March for Black Trans Lives as it draws over 40,000 people. And of course you did, as new study reveals 1 in every 4 gay and bi men had casual sex during lockdown.
Key West creates permanent rainbow crosswalks. Watch the first trailer of Canada's Drag Race is very fierce. A gay adult star demands reform from the industry and wants racist performers fired. Trump says, if we'd stop testing, cases would go down. Has been proven false, and we will do that tonight. And finally, beautiful photos reimagined beloved Disney princesses as urban Black royalty.
And in our fun The Big Finish, we explore a trans activist that has J.K. Rowling's back over cruel treatment by a newspaper. Star Trek may make James T. Kirk bisexual in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And happy belated 74th birthday to President Donald Trump. Wait, what? Good evening, America. It's 7 p.m. Tuesday, June 16, 2020. It is time to queer up the news. We are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your stories we are going to tell tonight on Q News Tonight. Tonight on the world's first live daily queer evening news show.
Tonight's news about the gay community and the news from an LGBTQ perspective. Are our gay stories important to you? In headlines, politics, entertainment, gay culture, travel, religion, and more. Reported by respected anchors.
Out of the closet and into the headlines on Q News Tonight. Q News Tonight, we are live. This is a live show, so anything can happen. Tonight we bring you the news of and a perspective from the LGBTQ community. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and this is my co-guest anchor tonight, David Hopkins, and my co-guest anchor, Misty Eyes. So let's queer up the news. Tonight we bring you Q headlines. The LGBTQ community in America is definitely diverse. The LGBTQ community around the world is vast. And tonight we bring you the bullet points of the queer news for today, Tuesday, June 16th, 2020. We begin by queering up entertainment. Gay blood. Can we be allowed to save Superman? In a powerful statement, Can You Save Superman? Appropriates a comic book that is almost 50 years old and is done by New York-based artist Jordan Eagles. A blood bag is attached to the comic in the exhibit as a gesture of wanting to be able to give the hero blood. It seeks to directly challenge the decades-old policy that bars gay and bisexual men from donating blood in the time of COVID-19. The virtual exhibit runs from June 14th, World Blood Donor Day, through December 1st, World AIDS Day.
This is such an important thing for our community and our world right now. This ban on blood is ridiculous. All the blood is scanned. It's pure just hatred towards the LGBT community and ignorance.
I agree with you, David. They test all the blood anyway. Why limit who is willing to donate? So many people are afraid of needles to begin with. Those that are willing to donate, let them.
Frequently, art helps propel us out of ignorance, and the art installation of this moment on Superman's illustration of can we help him by donating our blood is a representation of decades-long HIV and AIDS hangover thoughts that no longer are true today. Sure. So I applaud this artist.
Next week, Queer Up Vote 2020. The DNC releases attack ad named Dissent. Watch this.
5 years ago, Donald Trump descended to the basement of Trump Tower. For the last 5 years, he's brought America down with him, attacking healthcare for patients with pre-existing conditions, giving massive tax cuts to billionaires, not working families, praising white supremacists, stoking racial division, a White House in chaos, losing 300,000 jobs in a failed trade war with China, locking children in cages. He ignored science on coronavirus and misled the American people, stating it would miraculously go away. It didn't. Now, over 100,000 dead Americans, 20 million jobs destroyed, recession.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
He shredded our alliances and turned our military on American citizens. You have the power to end the descent of our nation, to choose justice, unity, leadership, because we can't afford 4 more years of Trump.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
The ad, the first offensive from the Democratic National Committee, is titled Dissent, and it's part of a planned 5-week assault on Donald Trump's presidency and comes out on the heels of an announcement that former President Barack Obama will be joining Joe Biden for a fundraiser for the first time since officially endorsing his former vice president in April.
I'm super glad to start seeing Joe Biden campaigns. I keep seeing Donald Trump commercials, and I'm like, where's Joe?
I'm going to participate in this event next week online, and I'm very much looking forward to it. We need Joe Biden to come out and tell us why he wants to be president and continue to tell us why the LGBT community should be supporting him.
It's very difficult for Joe Biden right now because as much of an idiot as Trump is about a lot of things, he is a master marketer, and Joe Biden really has to figure out a way to counter that.
He is good TV, that is true.
Yeah.
Now we queer up the USA. Supreme Court Justice Alito compares same-sex urges to rape, while Kavanaugh slams ruling. While giving lip service to the idea that it's desirable to ban employment discrimination against LGBTQ people, the Supreme Court justices who discerned from today's ruling used homophobic, transphobic, and misogynistic arguments. Alito, a George W. Bush appointee, brought up the idea that an expansive reading of the term sex could lead to protections for rapists. Kavanaugh, for his part, disagreed that sex discrimination and sexual orientation discrimination was the same, saying that the women's rights movement is not the gay rights movement.
Well, that's incredibly ridiculous, and the representation that Alito does to rape is an indication of how scary the president's power to appoint a Supreme Court justice is, because he represents the ultimate level of ignorance, meaning he's going to rule on many, many issues for decades to come in that same level of ignorance.
I kind of agree with Kavanaugh. One of the most difficult things about the gay rights movement, unlike the Black Lives Matter or the women's rights movements, is we can hide who we are. We can pretend to be something else to get along. Other people can't. So it's tough to fight that you need protections when they think you can just stay in the closet to protect yourself.
These 3 people that fought against our rights, their colors are showing, and they're not pretty.
We continue by querying up the USA tonight and reporting prison guards in New York City laughed as a trans woman silently choked to death in her cell. The family of Laylene Extravaganza, a 27-year-old transgendered member of New York City's legendary ballroom family, have filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the city following her death in solitary confinement on New York's Rikers Island prison due to an apparent seizure. Despite having a history of schizophrenia and epilepsy, and despite having had 2 seizures already while in custody at Rikers prison, a doctor there cleared her for placement in isolation. The guards who were supposed to check in on her every 15 minutes did not, and when she did not respond to them calling her name, the guards laughed before bothering to open the door minutes later.
I'm reminded of the president of Poland, who we reported on last night, saying that gay people want you to think they're people. And that's what this is. It's dehumanizing of trans people, and it's terrible.
Again, we are one human family. You don't have to agree with my choices. You don't have to agree with my lifestyle, but I am a human being. And the video that is shown is appalling. Watching those officers laugh at her death is disgusting.
And also interesting to me that at Rikers, which is only a few miles from where our next story is going to be about, is a reflection of what the schism in New York City is over what we think about trans people.
Next week, Queer Up the USA. A weekend march for Black Trans Lives draws over 40,000 people. An estimated 40,000 people gathered at the Brooklyn Museum on Sunday afternoon to rally and march for Black Trans Lives at an action called Brooklyn Liberation. The attendees all wore white as a nod to the 1917 NAACP protest against anti-black violence, where thousands of people gathered wearing all white. It marks what is thought to be the largest trans-based protest in history, according to one of the action's organizers, Fran Tirado.
This is such a beautiful story. It's also scary. We are in the middle of a pandemic and COVID-19 is still happening. They're stopped reporting the new cases, but they're still happening. You guys have to respect yourself, protect yourself, but coming out for our community is beautiful.
My disappointment is this hasn't made greater news.
True.
Of course, we're reporting it at Queer News, at Q News tonight. But 40,000 people, the largest Black trans march and protest ever in history, and it hasn't received the kind of attention that it would have for other alternative groups.
True.
And that's disappointing to me.
I also want to point out that there was a very similar march this weekend in LA with, while not quite as large numbers, also a very massive turnout to support Black Trans Lives. Our community is coming together, and it's about damn time.
Now we queer up the USA. Donald Trump signs executive order targeting police reform. U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order on Tuesday that seeks to improve how police officers treat African Americans and others by improving background checks, training, and mental health resources. The order comes after Trump has struck a strict law and order tone in his response to protests around the country, sparked by the death of African American George Floyd while in police custody in Minneapolis. Trump has faced criticism from Democrats for his response to the protests and the COVID-19 pandemic, with some allies concerned about the November presidential election.
Well, it's proof positive that I can cheer actions that the president takes, which is this, and also a reflection that I would like to vote against him on November 3rd. I can do both. We queer up travel tonight by reporting Key West creates permanent rainbow crosswalks. Spanning all four corners of the intersection of Duval and Petronia Streets, the crosswalks installed Monday featured long bands of all 6 colors of the rainbow flag, an intentionally recognized LGBTQ symbol. The crosswalks are composed of preformed thermoplastic color stripes. After the stripes were laid on the street by city workers, they were heat treated with propane torches to affix the colors permanently on the pavement. The crosswalks seek to reinforce the city's official philosophy of one human family.
Next week, Queer Up the USA. Supreme Court deals huge blow to Second Amendment activists by not hearing gun cases. The Supreme Court on Monday said it would not hear appeals of a slew of cases involving gun laws, dealing a blow to Second Amendment activists who seek to expand the rights of gun owners. In an order released Monday morning, the court denied petitions for appeals of 10 cases. The cases rejected by the court involve questions of whether laws banning interstate handgun sales in some cases violate the Second Amendment, and whether a state can limit handgun permits to people who demonstrate a specific need for self-defense.
Next we queer up entertainment. The first trailer of Canada's Drag Race is very fierce. Watch this.
Ooh, child. We're about to find out.
Canada's Drag Race will premiere July 2nd on Crave in Canada and will stream on World of Wonder Presents Plus in selected other countries, including the United States. The highly anticipated series will follow 12 sickening competitors as they compete in a variety of different challenges for the title of Canada's next drag superstar. The trailer shows the Queen sashaying into the fabulous new workroom and reveals guest judges. The contestants can also be seen thirsting over Unreal star Jeffrey Bauer Chapman and gagging over Stacey McKenzie's runway walk. Both stars will serve as main judges alongside Brooklyn Heights.
We queer up gay culture tonight by reporting a gay adult star demands reform from the industry and wants racist performers fired. A black gay performer, former porn star, has urged studios to cut all ties with racist performers and criticize systemic racism in the adult entertainment industry, especially gay adult entertainment. Race Cooper spoke about his experience working in porn and said that racism was a daily constant during his time in the industry. He has made claims that he was paid less than his white co-stars, only hired to be a racist company's token black man, and called out casting choices forcing black men to play thug characters.
Next week, Queer Up the USA. Sheriff's deputies shown to the curb over racist and anti-gay social media posts. Joshua Wilson, a sheriff's deputy from Clarksville, Tennessee, has been fired after a local website unearthed racist and anti-LGBTQ social media posts by the officer. Quote, "I hate gays," one post read. Another asked why the rainbow flag was acceptable, but the Confederate flag was considered offensive. After the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office was notified about the posts, they launched an internal investigation. The force did not check an applicant's social media history when the officer was hired, but does now. The posts were all written before Wilson was hired.
So tonight, let's move on to queer up all of the news and catch up on the news surrounding COVID-19 with our segment we call Quarantine Quickies. The first story tonight is our daily reporting on the coronavirus facts, especially important to the LGBTQ community. We begin by reporting on coronavirus case numbers. Based on the standard acceptance of 7% of the LGBTQ population, the world's LGBTQ COVID-19 cases stand at 571,024, and America's LGBTQ COVID-19 cases stand at 153,000. We remind you that America is ground zero of the pandemic, and the USA, with just 4.4% of population, accounts for almost 27% of world cases. Next, we report on coronavirus deaths. The world's LGBTQ COVID-19 deaths stand at 30,819, while America's LGBTQ community's COVID-19 deaths stand at 8,290. Again, the United States accounts for 26.8% of all of the deaths in the world. Next, we report on testing facts. 25,298,000 tests, which is approximately 7.6% of American population. Despite what Trump and Pence have told us about testing, we recognize at Q News tonight the Hall of Fame top states in testing, which includes tonight number 3, New Mexico, number 2, New York, and number 1, Rhode Island. Q News tonight also recognizes our Hall of Shame states, and these are the states doing the worst job in testing, and LGBT America, frankly, we hope you don't live in one of these states, and they are tonight number 5, Kansas, number 4, Colorado, number 3, Oregon, number 2, Idaho, and virtually no testing through 2020 has taken place in Puerto Rico. We queue up quarantine quickies tonight by reporting Trump saying if we'd stop testing, cases would go down. It's been proven false. Watch this.
And the 10 millionth will go up very, very rapidly. And don't forget, we have more cases than anybody in the world. But why? Because we do more testing. When you test, you have a case. When you test, you find something is wrong with people. If we didn't do any testing, we would have very few cases.
For more than a month, the President of the United States has repeated the lie And now we have the numbers to prove just how stupid a lie it is. Brazil, for example, of the top 10 countries in COVID, which has done even worse than the United States in testing, somehow has less cases of COVID than we do. Countries such as Russia, the United Kingdom, and Spain, who have themselves done much more testing than the United States, has a small fraction of the cases that the United States has seen, even when adjusted for population percentage sizes. The facts are in. The mishandling of this by the president has nothing to do with how many tests have been taken and everything to do with poor decision making.
He's actually completely correct. The fewer tests there are, the fewer known cases there are, so it looks better on paper. What he's completely discounting is the fact that people will still have it whether they've been tested or not, but they just won't know about it.
Well, you know, you're not pregnant until you get a pregnancy test.
That baby just fell out from nowhere.
Truth. And let me make sure that we're clear. The United Kingdom, Russia, and Spain have tested far greater in percentage of population than the United States and have between 1/10 and 1/15 of the number of COVID cases in percentage of population to the United States. Donald Trump's observation is therefore a lie. Brazil has not tested as many people as the United States and have far fewer in percentage to the number of cases that the United States has. So in both instances, lower tests and higher tests, we prove tonight that Donald Trump is not telling the truth.
We continue quarantine quickies. 1 in every 4 gay and bi men had casual sex during lockdown. Watch this.
In a matter of weeks, the novel coronavirus has swept the globe and dramatically shifted how we live our lives.
We are practicing social distancing.
Social distancing. Social distancing.
We're washing our hands, we're stocking up on food, and most importantly, we're staying home. But while so much in our lives has changed, that innate human need for intimacy hasn't gone anywhere. So what should we know about sex, love, and dating in the age of corona?
A survey of gay and bisexual men in the United Kingdom has found that 1 in 4 has had casual sex during the country's COVID-19 lockdown. The research, conducted by the University of Westminster, the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and others, surveyed almost 1,400 men who have had sex with men. While most said they had stopped having casual sex during the COVID-19 pandemic, 24% of respondents reported engaging in casual sex despite the UK's lockdown. 5% of respondents said they had been with more than 5 casual partners since lockdown began.
You know, self-care is very important.